My position on Bitcoin is it's the dominant digital property network in the world. It's won that race. And if what you want to own is digital property for the long term, then you just buy and hold Bitcoin. And years ago, I talked about the mobile wave.
I mean, the theme of the mobile wave is every company is becoming a software company, whether they like it or not, to the extent that they provide a good or a service that touches the consumer. So unless you have a diamond mine or an oil well, you better become a good software company. And clearly, Google, Facebook, Apple are the winners. The losers are companies that need to be great software companies, but either in denial and they're hoping that this is not going to happen, or they're just incapable of developing great software skills. You have to be prepared for a global, very competitive world where the single best person in the world is probably going to ship their software every single place it might possibly go.
And the mobile wave was the dematerialization of music falling to the Apple iPhone and then turning books into iBooks. If you want to give music to 5 billion people, you got to take the music out of the CDs. And if you want to give books and education to 5 billion people, you have to take the words out of the book and you got to dematerialize the library. Bitcoin is the dematerialization of property. We're sucking the value out of gold and real estate and other property assets and collectibles and art. We're putting them on a blockchain. We're giving it to the people. It's a long-term trend. It's 1,000,000 times more efficient than hauling your property around on your back. And if you want to give property rights to 5 billion people, you need Bitcoin to do it and a smartphone. So it's a technology play for us. And we're very confident that over the next decade, 5 billion people are going to have property on a smartphone, and Bitcoin is going to be the primary blockchain that's used to do that. I'm a technology believer. I bought Facebook before it came public. I bought Apple when it was a couple dollars a share. I held it a decade. This is a 1 decade long trend. MicroStrategies acquired all this Bitcoin with a combination of equity and debt, but the debt is all long-term debt. It's either unsecured convertible bonds that run 5-6 years or secured debt against our cash flows of our software business. We don't mark anything to market, so we're not really concerned about short-term price fluctuations. In 6 or 7 years, yeah, I expect Bitcoin to be higher than it is today. And how it gets there, it'll be volatile. The way that we look at the digital ecosystem is you've got digital property. That's like owning a block of Cyber Manhattan. You're just owning the Granite City block. 1 Bitcoin is a block in Cyber Manhattan. Then you've got digital currencies like Tether. They're currencies. There's not much upside. They're just going to be regulated like money market funds in cyberspace. And then you've got digital applications, and they're trying to dematerialize insurance companies and exchanges and banks. They're kind of like the buildings on top of the Granite City block or the business in the building. It's a different thing, you know? If I went to Vegas, I would just want to buy all the land in Vegas. Somebody else might want to build the hotels at the casinos. That's not for us. It's a complicated business. It's a little bit more competitive. We're waiting for a bit more regulatory clarity. If you're going to be an insurance company in cyberspace, there's probably insurance issues or trading issues. We've adopted a very simple strategy. Buy 105,000 blocks of Bitcoin in Cyber Manhattan. We think it's going to be good for hundreds of years, and one day billions of people will want to live there. We actually think that the way that Bitcoin mining works is the most energy efficient way to create a trusted digital property network. You put in $1, you get out $200 of value on Bitcoin. If Google puts in $1 of energy, they get out $10 of value. It's in fact the most energy efficient industry in the world, and the amount of energy that it uses is a few basis points of the amount of energy used in the civilization. So I'm not concerned about the energy use. There's no more efficient way to do it. If I wanted to run a centralized application, I could do it with less energy, but there's no way that you can create digital property that's going to last for hundreds of years outside of the control of a CEO, a government, or a country that has integrity and durability without using energy. I've organized the Bitcoin Mining Council so that we can promote energy transparency and communicate the energy usage of Bitcoin and also show how sustainable it is. In fact, one of the things we found is that the Bitcoin industry is using more sustainable energy than any other industry, and it's getting more sustainable at a more rapid rate. So we look forward to sharing some of those findings shortly with the public. China had 50% market share of Bitcoin, and they were generating $10 billion a year in a business that was growing 100% a year, year over year. And the government cracked down on it, and they squeezed the entire industry out of China. I think that given the growth rate of Bitcoin, this will prove to be $1 trillion mistake for China. So it's a tragedy for Chinese miners. It's a geopolitical mistake for China, the country, but I suppose they can afford to make $1 trillion mistake. It's a nuisance and a dislocation for Bitcoin in the near term. You see the trading volatility. It squeezed a lot of people a lot of Chinese had to sell Bitcoin and under forcible liquidations with a time frame because they have to get out of the country and all their loans got called. And so that's been a big opportunity for Western investors. Companies like mine bought Bitcoin in the 30,000 range. We would have paid double, maybe triple to buy the Bitcoin if it hadn't been for the China exodus. So we got to benefit from that. And it's a great windfall, Emily, for North American Bitcoin miners because their costs are the same and they're going to generate 50% more revenue or 75% more revenue for quite a while because the Chinese industry has been taken offline. If you roll the clock back 6 months to 9 months, mainstream media didn't cover the story and people were uncertain about what would happen. Biden being elected president was good for Bitcoin. Gary Gensler taking over the SEC was good for Bitcoin. The new class of regulators are progressive. They're more enlightened. They're more educated on Bitcoin. I think that you will in time see a Bitcoin ETF. You've seen Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs and most major banks start to trade in Bitcoin and Bitcoin derivatives and offer Bitcoin mutual funds. There's an avalanche of banks that are going to be offering Bitcoin services. And of course, Coinbase came public and Square and Coinbase are between them adding millions of new Bitcoin holders every month. And so you just got to be patient and look at the long-term technology trend, which is, do you believe in iBooks and do you believe in the iCloud and do you believe in big tech? Because if you believe those things, the next logical thing to get dematerialized is property on 5 billion mobile phones. Just a matter of time.